I will now call the June 9th, 2014 meeting of the Chemung County Legislature to order. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and remain standing for a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Pastrick? Here. Mr. Manchester?
Here.
Mr. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Brennan?
Here.
Mr. Gabbar?
Here.
Mr. Hyland?
Here.
Dr. Milliken?
Here.
Mrs. Woodard? Here. Mr. Hitchcock?
Here.
Mr. Bennett?
Here.
Mrs. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Malazzo?
Here.
Mr. Madel?
Here.
Mr. Strange?
Here.
Mrs. Dragson?
Here. Motion to accept the minutes by Mr. Malazzo, second by Mr. Hyland. Any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion to accept the communications 6-01 to 6-23 by Mr. Malazzo, second by Mr. Strange. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. This is the point when we come to public comments. You have 5 minutes in which to speak. If you are representing somebody else other than yourself, would you please state that and also state your name and address for us. We're going to start with the upstairs, and the people are down here right now, so come right on up.
Hello, my name is Claire Bonnie Chalet. I'm the president of Chemung County, one of Mr. Roberts' district. I've had some interesting experiences with that. One was to attend a committee meeting of the legislature. I listened to about 45 resolutions. Many may have been mandates, as I've been told, but probably not all of them. I was surprised to hear only 6 questions during those 45 minutes. Then I went to the county clerk's office to read a number of comments submitted earlier regarding the tonnage expansion. Of the many comments, only one was in favor of expansion. A number of them were form letters from the Sierra Club, which indicates the rural concern about drill waste. But a large number were from local individuals with thoughtful, well-referenced objections to increasing the tonnage of our dump due to the questions about what exactly is in those drill cuttings that we are accepting from Pennsylvania. I am wondering, how many of you have read those letters? Or is this left up entirely to the staff? As our elected leaders, I would expect you to read that information and ask questions about this issue so that you might come to an educated opinion, keeping in mind your charge to protect the citizens of this county. You also might ask, what do you, as our elected leaders, want our county to be known for? Its prisons, the county with all the brownfields, Elmira, the county that ranks as one of the lowest in health and the one with the highest rate of lung cancer in the state. Or, as our elected leaders, do you want our county to be known as forward-thinking in protecting the residents' health, air, and water? The county of, another thing you might think of is this county of incredible beauty, the county of memorable people, the county that leads in renewable energy research, design, and production, and the county with a river to be proud of, having no radioactive remnants polluting it. You are in a position of deciding how our future development of Chemung County goes. I hope you will ask yourselves these questions, as many of us have. Thank you for listening.
My name is Jerry Wall. I live in Erin, New York at 65 Kellogg Road, W-A-L-L. Good evening. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you tonight. I would like to ask each of you, as legislators who represent this community, to consider a few questions. Even if you dismiss the health and environmental risks from the dangers of radioactive and toxic waste products from shale gas drilling, and I don't see how you can, why would you want to expose our community to all the problems associated with heavy truck traffic on our local roads? Imagine the effect on our health of hundreds, no, thousands of truck trips, each truck polluting our air with diesel exhaust that contains benzene, a cancer-causing chemical. Each heavy truck and its heavy load will help wear out our roads and bridges before their time, necessitating costly repairs to our transportation infrastructure more often, a burden that taxpayers will bear. And why would you significantly reduce the useful life of our landfill facility? You've already voted once to increase outside tonnage, thereby reducing the life expectancy of the facility to meet local needs. Without the additional importing of trash, our facility could handle our local needs for decades. One reason you might make these choices is profit. Profits mostly for Casella, with minor profits for the county. The other reason might be nearsightedness about our futures. Short-term money versus the long-term health and safety of our community, its natural resources, the next generations. It's not a smart trade-off. I'm asking you to rethink the results of acting to increase or even to allow shale gas drill cuttings and shale gas-related waste in our county landfill. People are in the balance. Thank you for listening.
Before I start, I have some literature here that I acquired from Chemung County. Pass them around.
We'll give it to the clerk, please, and then I'll see that they get it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the legislature. My name is Jim Drake. I live on Ladbrook Road in Marcellus. What I come here for, I'm going to be a little bit awkward to start with, but as you well know, you have a Newtown water shed, dams, and mountain creek. Plus you have the Lawrenceville dams, okay? What you don't know, does everybody know what a watershed is? Well, it's a big area above, say, Elmira. You put Elmira right here at the bottom of this funnel. All this area out here is your watershed. All the water that comes in here ends up here. Okay. With the Pennsylvania dams at Lawrenceville and that area, plus the Newtown watershed area, you only cover 1/4 of that. You guys are living in an area where it's still floodable, okay? Very much. You still got 3/4 of your watershed hold it for flooding. If you don't believe me, ask our coordinator. Okay, that's all right there. But what I'm really here for is to say, have you ever been over to your human services building in the south side? That do not have any parking there yet. You have your cooperative extension office downstairs. You have your DMV's office downstairs. In 1972, the worst thing we had here in Chemung County, you couldn't get a license. You know, you're still susceptible. Both of them things are below grade. They said to sell it. Now I'm asking you if you could think about, I don't care, just think about moving a satellite office to the fairgrounds on the DMV. I mean, in the flood, after the flood, there was an office there, so I don't know if the layers and hookup are still there or not. But you don't have to move the whole office, split it up so it can be economic for the whole county. Okay, because people are hurting for money, and it's shorter from the northern part of that county to go there, and the southern part of the county to go there. Okay, simple as that. It's just common sense. Number two is we have a real high area of unemployment. People are hungry. There's a big need for food. Your cooperative extension sits idle. It's way from the back. That's what I was hoping I could get them campus up to. That's Chemung County. Now I could have gone to Tompkins, but you would have said, well, that's Cornell. Well, that's okay. So I went to a neighboring county. It's got about 90,000 people, like Chemung County, 20 bigger in size, double or so. They promote their cooperative extension. I would like you to move your cooperative extension office to the fairgrounds. Put it up there so the people know what it is and what they do. They have no idea where it is, and stuff in the back. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to start on this side of the room, on the left side, my right hand side. Somebody in the front row would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Ellen Wenger, and I'm from White Plains in Westchester County. I'm the Educational Outreach Director for Grassroots Environmental Education, a science-based environmental health nonprofit, providing environmental health information to schools and local and state governments in the tri-state area nationwide. And we work directly with a network of leading medical experts and scientists in the field of environmental health. Grassroots environmental education is strongly encouraging this county legislature to introduce legislation to prohibit the disposal of oil and gas drilling waste byproducts at wastewater treatment facilities and landfills, and the application of oil and gas drilling waste byproducts on roads and property within Chemung County. I'm here to present evidence-based information for consideration regarding the negative impact of the decision to allow the disposal of oil and gas drilling waste here in Chemung, and what it will mean for our children and grandchildren in the years to come. We've already learned hard and expensive lessons with asbestos, lead, and tobacco, witnessing the epidemic of harm in each case. We knew the dangers, and yet the arguments went on and on and on. And we are here now facing a new urgent threat, the exposure to radioactive contaminants in oil and gas drilling waste byproducts. Last month, the state of Connecticut enacted a 3-year moratorium on the storage and disposal of oil and gas drilling waste. 1 week later, the New Jersey Senate passed legislation prohibiting disposal of oil and gas drilling waste byproducts, and the New Jersey Assembly is gearing up to take action. Vermont has a ban. Massachusetts is poised to enact similar legislation. 12 New York counties have passed bans, local laws to prohibit all oil and gas drilling waste within their counties. Many of those counties passed legislation unanimously. Recognition by legislators, as one chair of a county legislature stated, this is not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue, but an urgent public health issue. In fact, in Westchester County, where I live, legislators unanimously passed such a local law. And Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino, a gubernatorial candidate who supports fracking in the southern tier, signed the bill, recognizing the potential threat to public health, the county infrastructure, and its economy. It is well known that produced water and the semi-solids in fracking waste have high levels of chlorides and bromides and contain toxic heavy metals. They also contain high levels of radium-226 and radium-228, known carcinogens, with a half-life of 1,600 years, and are linked to anemia, cataracts, bone, liver, and breast cancers. Radon is a decay product of radium and is considered the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Lead and polonium are decay products of radon and damage lung tissue when radon is absorbed into the lungs. Potential of toxic exposure is of particular concern with children, a uniquely vulnerable population. The Mount Sinai School of Medicine's Children's Environmental Health Center is particularly concerned. Children have immature organ systems. They are ill-equipped to eliminate toxins. Their small size causes them to take in more contaminants pound for pound than adults do. And at a cost of $4 billion a year in New York State alone for environmentally mediated disease for children, just children, not even adults, this is a hefty price to pay for taxpayers. Scientific studies describe the inability of casual readings of radioactivity of oil and gas drilling waste for its proper assessment right at the landfill. Radium-226 and radium-228 emit alpha and beta, but the gamma emitters cannot be measured right in the field. According to the Department of Energy, a minimum of 21 days waiting period is required, and gamma spectrometry must be conducted in the lab to assess the gamma emitters in hydrofracking waste samples. According to peer-reviewed study, the EPA method for analyzing radioactivity in drinking water is unsuitable for testing solutions with high radioactive concentrations that are characteristic in hydrofracking waste byproducts, vastly underestimating the amount of radioactivity. Ivan White, a staff scientist for the Congressionally Commissioned National Council on Radiation Protection, expresses serious concern regarding the cavalier attitude toward human exposure to radioactive material which pervades the New York State DEC's draft ESCIs, and states, the type of radioactive material found in the Marcellus Shale formation and brought to the surface by hydrofracking is the type that has a long half-life and could easily bioaccumulate over time, delivering a dangerous radiation dose to potentially millions of people long after the drilling is over. The hydrofracking waste accepted here in Chemung County qualifies as T-norm. Many of you may know that norm is naturally occurring radioactive materials, which are distributed through geological formations and exist undisturbed in nature below the Earth's surface or right at the Earth's surface. But when norm are disturbed and transported by human activity to human environments, they are considered technologically enhanced naturally occurring radioactive materials, increasing potential of exposure that may result in concentration levels above background levels. T-norm from oil and gas drilling operations are not addressed by regulatory guidance documents. There's very little information available concerning the synergistic reactions and the cumulative effects of radionuclides that combine simultaneously over and over and over again, and the potential human and animal health impacts. The EPA, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, do not have established federal regulations that directly govern T-norm waste from the oil and gas industry.
Can you wrap it up? You've had 8 minutes.
Yes, I'll be happy to do so. Thank you. Landfill disposal of radioactive sludge from oil and gas drilling operations could contaminate them for thousands of years. All landfill membranes fail eventually, and leaching or flooding could result in contamination of nearby ponds, streams, or groundwater. Leachate from landfills is a frequent cause of groundwater contamination. Pathways of exposure are numerous, and agricultural areas are especially vulnerable and present potential for irreparable damage and serious financial harm. We already know that West Virginia landfills and Pennsylvania landfills have radioactive alarms being triggered continuously with very high levels being seen, typical, again, of the Marcellus shale. So we close by saying that we strongly urge this county legislature to expedite the introduction of local law to prohibit all hydrofracking waste byproducts within Chemung County. Thank you.
I'd like to remind you that it's 5 minutes that you have to speak, please. Anybody else in the front row?
Hello. My name is Chelsea Raymond. I live here in Chemung County in Elmira. I'm here tonight to read a statement from a group called Riverkeeper. In support of to the Chemung County Legislature, in support of introducing a local law prohibiting road spreading of oil and natural gas waste and acceptance of such waste at landfills and wastewater treatment plants. Riverkeeper strongly encourages the Chemung County Legislature to introduce a local law prohibiting the spread of oil and natural gas waste on roads and property within the county and the acceptance of any such waste at wastewater treatment plants and landfills within the county. Riverkeeper is a member-supported watchdog organization dedicated to defending the Hudson River and its tributaries and protecting the drinking water supply of 9 million New York City and Hudson Valley residents. Riverkeeper is actively involved in litigation, advocacy, and public education surrounding the issue of shale gas extraction and ancillary activities, particularly because of its potential impacts on New York State's drinking water supplies. Waste generated through the extraction of oil and natural gas using hydraulic fracturing or fracking can contain a number of pollutants such as chemicals, metals, and organic compounds that are harmful to human health and the environment, and excess salts that can corrode the infrastructure and harm aquatic life and vegetation. Fracking waste from extraction activities in the Marcellus shale can also contain naturally occurring radioactive materials, norms such as radium-226 and radium-228, which have been linked to serious health effects including cancer. Passing local legislation prohibiting the use of oil and natural gas waste on roads and its acceptance at landfills and wastewater treatment plants is critical because the sale, reuse, and disposal of this waste are currently occurring in a number of New York State counties, including Chemung. Such practices will continue regardless of whether high-volume fracking moves forward in New York, since waste is being produced by ongoing low-volume fracking operations in western Pennsylvania and is being imported in New York from high-volume wells in Pennsylvania. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation currently allows the use of production brine, a typical of wastewater, from low-volume fracking to be spread on roads for de-icing, dust control, and road stabilization. Brine from natural gas storage is also used for the same purpose. If not properly controlled, this waste can run off into adjoining property and ultimately contaminate rivers, streams, and underground aquifers that feed local drinking water supplies. In 2013 and 14, Riverkeeper indicating that road spreading of oil and natural gas production, brine from natural gas storage has been approved in portions of at least 40 municipalities in 9 western New York State counties: Wyoming, Erie, Cattaraugus, Chautauqua, Genesee, Niagara, Seneca, Allegheny, and Steuben. In addition, the New York State Department of Transportation, Regions 4 and 6 have received approval to spread this brine on state roads in portions of Chemung, Genesee, Orleans, Wyoming, Monroe, Livingston, Steuben, Allegheny, Schuyler, and Yates counties. In 2012, New York State Department of Transportation stored 7,433 gallons of brine in Horsehead's sub-headquarters facility in Chemung and applied the brine to roads maintained by New York State Department of Transportation throughout Chemung County. Riverkeeper also received testing results in response to our FOIL request which showed excessive levels of chloride, salts in both natural gas production, brine, and brine from natural gas storage facilities. In addition, sample results for brine from oil production and natural gas storage facilities revealed the presence of benzene and toluene. Benzene is a carcinogen that has been linked to blood disorders such as anemia, while toluene has been linked to nervous system, kidney, and liver problems. Also of concern, applicants are not required to test for naturally occurring radioactive materials. Moreover, fracking waste, including drill cuttings and liquid waste, is currently being transported from high-volume fracking operations in Pennsylvania to 5 New York counties, including Chemung County. Along with the contaminants commonly found in oil and natural gas fracking waste, the extraction process can concentrate norms in solid waste, leading to higher levels of radioactive contamination. Due to loopholes in state laws and federal laws, fracking waste is not classified as hazardous, even though it can contain a number of harmful contaminants that are in fact hazardous. Therefore, fracking waste is not subject to regulations governing the transport and disposal of hazardous waste and can be disposed of at municipal landfills and wastewater treatment plants, which are unequipped to handle such waste. Since 2011, more than 300,000 tons of fracking waste has been transported from Pennsylvania to New York landfills, including Chemung County's landfill in Malman. Further, leachate from New York State landfills is often sent to nearby wastewater treatment facilities for processing. Wastewater treatment facilities in New York that receive the required state and federal authorizations are also permitted to directly accept fracking wastewater. Recognizing the environmental and public health risks, at least 12 other New York counties have passed measures banning the improper reuse and disposal of fracking waste. Riverkeeper supports these efforts and urges the Chemung County Legislature to introduce a similar ban as expeditiously as possible. To assist county governments in developing prohibitions on road spreading of oil and natural gas waste, along with acceptance of waste at landfills and wastewater treatment plants, Riverkeeper has developed model legislation attached for your consideration. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this important issue.
Sorry, I walked slowly. I hope it didn't chew into my 5 minutes.
I start when you start talking.
Ms. Draxler, Chemung County legislators, honorable citizens and friends of Chemung County. Having served as a county legislator from 1997 until the end of 2003 in Schuyler County, I'm aware of the challenges of being a county legislator in a small county. I'm aware of the problem of unfunded mandates in counties where the state legislature dumps the cost of their doing business onto the counties to pay. It's painful. When I served, we did not have an appointed county manager nor an elected county executive. We knew that we were the decision makers and the responsible parties for county policy. It was hard work. It was a full-time job at half-time pay. It was a huge learning experience, and it was a valuable lesson in humility. Looking back on that era and seeing what happens in this county, I see it was a lot more than what I see happening here. Quite honestly, I see you folks taking the back seat and allowing the county exec to make the policy and to give you the decisions after they are made. It's an easy problem to slip into when you have a very strong leader. I saw it beginning to happen in Schuyler soon after they voted to bring in a county manager. According to your county charter, you are the decision makers here. You are the responsible parties for policy here, according to your own charter. Your county exec can veto one of your decisions. However, after 45 days, when it comes back from the county clerk with the veto, you can override this veto with a 3/5 vote of this body. Have you ever done that? I certainly hope you have. I hope you've thought through issues and sweated over them. Have you ever asserted your rightful positions as the responsible policymakers and decision makers in this county? Have you ever done the work that helps you determine the right path, the path that protects your citizens' health and their well-being? And have you ever voted according to the strength of your own conscience? Chemung County is not a monarchy. It is a democratic republic with you as our elected leadership. In Westchester County, the legislature unanimously passed a strong local law that protects its citizens from any form of frack waste from coming into that county. Their county exec signed that bill into law. He voted with his legislature to protect the people of his county. Yet, he is willing to throw us in Chemung County under the bus. As a candidate for governor of the state, he has publicly declared that New York State, under his leadership, will allow slick water hydrofracking of the Marcellus for natural gas. He's made it a point to let everybody know he is in favor of it. Are Westchester County citizens more valuable than our citizens? Are you willing to be the target zone for a process that is already contaminating our water and air supply due to the dump with the frack waste already there, the supply companies with their carcinogenic chemicals and horseheads, the trains with their silica dust blowing in the wind in our parks? Each one of you is receiving a DVD this evening. Compliments of our friends in Westchester County. I put them on your desk. It is a 5-minute and 20-second long, and it has statements from county legislators from Westchester, from Putnam, and from Rockland counties as to why they will not allow any frack waste into their counties. We were not allowed to show it as a statement here this evening. I really don't know why. You are, by your own charter, responsible for enacting, amending, or rescinding local laws, ordinances, or resolutions that impact the health and welfare of your people. For God's sake, please do the right thing. You will sleep better nights, and Chemung County will be a far better place in which to live. Thank you.
And my husband and I live in Big Flats. We moved to this area from Kansas in 2005 because we found it so attractive, the Chemung River being a big part of that. The natural beauty of the Chemung Valley and proximity to the Finger Lakes could draw many other retirees here, especially as New York doesn't tax pensions, retirement accounts, or Social Security. And home prices are reasonable. But we might have made a different decision if we knew then what we know now. In 2005, horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing of the Marcellus shale for natural gas didn't exist. There were no plans for gas storage under Seneca Lake. Drill cuttings were still several years away from being deposited in our county landfill. And it wasn't until Pennsylvania's gas fields began to make the news that we could foresee the changes that would take place in our communities and countryside once drilling started in New York. But the state, under Governor Patterson, wisely put a hold on the new drilling technology until it could be proven safe for people and for the environment. The moratorium remains in effect. While the health and environmental impacts of horizontal drilling and fracking are still under study, by the state, and even as we observe multiple contamination incidents in the Pennsylvania gas fields, why are our landfills allowed to accept truckloads of Marcellus waste in the form of drill cuttings and related sludge? It makes no sense to me. What's the point of a moratorium if we become part and parcel of Pennsylvania's gas business? We are at risk of sacrificing our clean air and water to Casella profits. The Chemung River flows past, and our aquifer sits under what has already become a depository of alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. Liners will never last anywhere near as long as the half-lives of those radioactive shale materials. And this is just from the drilling stage of gas well production. For years, Casella accepted drill cuttings from Pennsylvania and didn't report this to the state. What makes you think they'll voluntarily begin reporting that they're accepting actual fracking waste that arrives from the same sources? I'm asking you, the legislators of Chemung County, to honor the moratorium and demand that Casella cease and desist from accepting Pennsylvania drill cuttings and remove those already there. Certainly do not expand this practice by voting to enlarge the capacity of the landfill. You have not only the residents of Chemung County to consider, but all those who live downstream of the landfill. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Susan Walter, former resident of Chemung County, now living in Tompkins. As you legislators well know, but maybe someone in the audience does not, after this proposal to expand the tonnage of our landfill was made, the public was invited to comment, either through the public hearing on January 30th or through writing letters after that before a certain deadline in March. As Bonnie has already indicated, those of us who have been coming to the legislative clerk's office to read those letters found a pile this thick. And I have personally been through 317 of them. I didn't quite finish because I ran out of time, and I've been down 4 times to do this, and I thought that was enough. I'd like you to know the content of these letters. The range of the type of letter go from a 2-sentence letter in longhand on a yellow tablet sheet to 5, 8, 11 pages of typewritten material with documentation about the radium-226, the heavy metals, and all the other problems that all of us have been talking about for several months. The vast majority of the letters, by far, are form letters from the Sierra Club, each one signed by a different person. And I can imagine it would be tempting to say, oh, that's the Sierra Club point of view, we know what that is, so discount or don't pay attention to those who signed that letter. Folks, when you sign your name to a letter written by an organization, it's because you agree with and you believe in the points they're making. They have more time and more eloquence and more knowledge sometimes to express those points. So I would hope that you're paying attention to every one of those letters, especially if they're from the Southern Tier and or from Chemung County. The reason I include the Southern Tier, and by that I'm talking about the letters that came from Allegheny, Steuben, Chemung, Schuyler, Tioga, and Broome County. Again, you could think, well, they're not my constituents except Chemung County. Therefore, I don't have to take time to read those letters or pay attention to their point of view. Folks, we're all in this together. As someone has already said, the air and water pollution don't stop at county lines. We all live downwind and downstream because overall it's one whole ecological system. But just for your information, of those 317 letters that I looked at, 98 are from those 6 counties of the southern tier that I just listed. I hope you have read them all. 57 of those are from residents of Chemung County. I hope you've read those. And they're hard to find amidst all the many form letters, but they're there. 316 of those 317 people do not favor your passing this proposal to expand the tonnage of the landfill. The one person that's already been referred to before, who was sort of borderline, he says the town of Chemung does not contest any findings in the draft EIS. That's not even saying, I favor your passing a proposal. It's a rather neutral statement that the town doesn't contest any findings, and it's as far as he probably could afford to go because, of course, the people in his town, most of them are totally against the existing landfill, let alone the expansion of it. But the other 316 clearly have concerns about health and safety. I just want to read you a few quotations. This is from someone named Sally. Allowing landfills to stockpile radioactive and toxic gas drilling waste above our shared freshwater aquifer without thoroughly evaluating the risk of health, environment, and future costs is irresponsible. I would say unconscionable. Here's one from Pine City. Our decision now, meaning if you favor passing this proposal, could have repercussions for hundreds of downstream communities that may one day hold us accountable for our decision to serve as a depository for radioactive waste for short-term financial gain that will cost our community in the long run. And here's one more. This is from a PhD. He was talking about radium-226 and the fact that it's highly soluble in water. The water coming up the wellbore contains high levels of this isotope, that's the radium-226, giving radioactivity that can be 1,000 times background level. Please, folks, before the staff, when the staff comes to you at your standing committee meeting and talks about what he or she thinks or they think about this subject, please do enough reading that you can ask intelligent, hard questions of those staff people about alpha radiation versus gamma and testing for heavy metals and all the things we've talked about for several months here. Do your homework, ask the questions, so that regardless of what the staff person suggests or the standing committee suggests that you do when you vote, that you will vote your conscience and think of the health and safety of future generations. Put health before wealth and vote against the proposal. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Krista Hayward, and I live in Pine City here in Chemung County, and you've heard me speak before, so I'll keep my comments brief. I just want to bring your attention to 2 points of interest. The first is that the Pennsylvania Attorney General last Friday happened to indict a fracking natural gas waste hauling company for the illegal deposition of fracking waste in counties in Pennsylvania. And I think that if that's happening in Pennsylvania, it's very likely that those similar things could happen here in New York. And we're dealing with the same haulers that Pennsylvania sees here with our landfill.
Great.
And the second point that I wanted to make was that Governor Corbett in Pennsylvania is currently has a 20
less than 25% approval rating, and he currently trails his Democratic candidate for the gubernatorial race by more than 20 points in the latest Quinnipiac poll. And so it's possible that Governor Corbett may not receive a second term, and it's possible that the policies regulating natural gas in Pennsylvania could change under the next gubernatorial, in the next gubernatorial office. And this could have dramatic effects on the natural gas industry. And so I would like to encourage you to think about how those changes might affect the economy here in New York. And I think it might be a bit of a risk to place a lot of economic potential on the receipt of natural gas fracking waste here in our county, when those types of waste may be differentially regulated under the next governor of Pennsylvania. Thank you.
I'm Doug Kushan, PhD, resident in Elmira and in Chemung County. I am against the expansion of tonnage capacity at the Chemung County dump. Also, I'm against accepting drill cuttings or any fracking waste products into Chemung County. The county is proposing to expand tonnage accepted at the dump in Lauman from 180,000 tons to 417,000 tons per year. That's a 131% increase. And if this proposal is passed, more Marcellus shale drill cuttings from Pennsylvania would be dumped here, along with more garbage from other locations in New York State, including downstate. We just had a rally. Most of you probably come in from the other direction, but out in front of the Haslett building before. It was at 6 o'clock. We had 65 to 70 people at that rally, none of whom want the tonnage increase or shale waste to come to Chemung County. Most of them were from Chemung County. We had a handful of people supporting us from 4 or 5 other counties as well. Because radioactivity, toxicity knows no boundaries. If it comes here, it's likely to go other places. So residents of Chemung County have come out in protests of this expansion and to educate our legislators about why increasing capacity at the dump is a bad idea. Here are just a few of the reasons why expanding tonnage capacity is a bad idea. Some dots. First of all, increasing tonnage capacity is directly related to accepting drill cuttings from Pennsylvania frac fields. It is directly related to fracking. Ergo, expanding the dump tonnage capacity is directly related to fracking. There is no getting around that point. Drill cuttings from Pennsylvania are proven to be radioactive. Radioactive material going into the dump does not necessarily stay in the dump. Some of it will certainly move through our environment by air and water, putting us all at risk. Radioactive salts in the Marcellus and other regional shale deposits are water soluble. Tests of leachate at our dump that are leachate produced in the dump, indicate that the fluid is becoming more radioactive over time. Leachate containing the radioactive salts is trucked from the dump to Elmira water treatment facilities. Connect these dots. From there, these soluble salts are released into the Chemung River, where they remain untreated for radioactivity. Thousands of people, both local and downstream, get their drinking water from the Chemung River. No amount of income generated for the county by the Casella Run dump is worth the decline in community and public health we are likely to see in the future. No amount of income generated for the county by the Casella Run dump is worth the environmental degradation we are likely to experience in that future. The people of Chemung County say no to the expansion of dump capacity and no to the transport of drill cuttings and any kind of fracking waste into the county. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lauren Shaw, resident of Elmira, City of Elmira in Chemung County. When you drive into the city of Elmira from Route 8617, you're greeted by a large sign with the images of prominent Elmira residents from the past, such as Mark Twain, Hal Roach, and John Jones, for example, along with a slogan that reads, "Welcome to the city of Elmira, honoring the past and building the future." Too much about Elmira is focused on its past, which did enjoy a thriving economy and community at one point. The present is another story, with its prison economy, hollowed out downtown commercial area, slumlords, and once glorious neighborhoods. A website that talks it up calls Elmira the Forgotten City, mentioning its attractions such as Arnott Art Museum, the National Soaring Museum, and the Newtown Battlefield. In particular, the Woodlawn Cemetery speaks to the quantity and quality of people who once inhabited this city. Visionaries, activists, abolitionists, such as Simeon Benjamin, John Arnott, John Jones, the Langdons, and Mark Twain. We need to seek inspiration and guidance from their example in order to build the future of Elmira and stay truly connected to its past. Expanding the tonnage capacity at the Chemung County Landfill is not good for Elmira, Chemung County, now or in the future. I want you to vote against expanding the tonnage capacity there. Not only does it clear the way for adding more garbage from other New York State counties, it also clears the way for adding more fracking waste from Pennsylvania. While our own population is dwindling, we don't need to be increasing the amount of waste in our dump. We simply don't need to be bringing in waste from other areas. I also want you to immediately halt accepting into the dump more drill cuttings from Pennsylvania's fracking fields. These are cuttings that are radioactive. Do we really need to be dumping Pennsylvania's toxic waste in Chemung County? This is a threat to our health right now, as well as the health of our future. It is particularly troublesome for our children. And don't we want to create an environment where our children can thrive, contribute to the community, and eventually have access to jobs, homes, and safe neighborhoods right here? Bringing toxic radioactive drill cuttings from fracking sites in Pennsylvania to the Chemung County dump does not help us build our city's future. Expanding the tonnage capacity to allow for more drill cuttings is a step in the wrong direction. We need to remove the existing drill cuttings, not increase the amount. We need to stop accepting drill cuttings, and we need to deny expansion of the dump's tonnage capacity. If Elmira really plans on building its future, we need to prohibit future disposal of frack waste of any kind in Chemung County. An article from Live Science this past fall reports on a study from Duke University about Marcellus shale drill cuttings being unusually radioactive, owing to a high concentration of radium-226, a decay product of uranium-238, which is known to occur in high concentrations in shale formations. It states that long-term exposure to large amounts of radium can cause adverse health effects and even disease like leukemia. Radium can make its way into the food chain by first accumulating in insects and small animals, and then moving on to larger animals like fish when they consume the insects and smaller animals. Another article from the journal Environmental Science and Technology states that researchers have found high levels of radioactivity, salts, and metals in the water and sediments downstream from a fracking wastewater plant in Black Lake Creek in western Pennsylvania.
The Life Science article claims that similar contamination may be happening in other locations dealing with discharge of fracking wastewater throughout the Marcellus Shale Formation. This brings me to the issue of the leachate that is generated by the landfill, hauled to the Elmira water treatment plant, and ultimately discharged into the Chemung River, where many of us get our drinking water. There is no treatment facility in the county that can remove radioactivity from water. Let's really consider the future of Elmira, build on its strengths, and create a sustainable environment for our children. We have a college here, another place of historic importance, as well as a source for economic development in the area. But what parents would want to send their child to a place known as a dumping ground for fracking waste? What kinds of economic development through recreation could possibly happen in a river that receives radioactive toxins from minimally treated fracked wastewater? Will the businesses of Elmira benefit from a decision to expand our dump tonnage? And what patients, doctors, and other health practitioners would choose Elmira hospitals as a place for treatment or professional commitment? I urge you to protect us from real health threats and further economic hardship. I urge you to focus on life-generating economic plans for our community. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Donna Homuth, and I live at 74 Thornapple Drive in Elmira. I'm here, and I thank you for letting us all speak. I'm here to express my opposition, 1, to the expansion of tonnage of our dump, and 2, to the acceptance of drill cuttings and waste from fracking fields. First, our population, as many people have already said, is dwindling. So our garbage and waste should decrease, not increase. According to the U.S. Census, our county in the year 2000 had just over 91,000 residents. Our projected population for 2020 is about 85,500, a substantial decrease. We're getting smaller. We don't need our tonnage to get bigger. Also, there is nothing attractive about increased tonnage at our dump. Our children will not want to return to live in Chemung County because we have increased tonnage. Nor will people seeking a fresh start in a small, safe, lovely community. However, people have been attracted to our county by our city of beautiful Victorian homes surrounded by green or snow-covered hills. In May, my husband and I took a tour of Victorian homes, many of them lovingly restored by people new to Chemung County. Now, there's an attraction far weightier than increased tonnage. Let's build our population by providing incentives to refurbish our historic homes and to make our houses and buildings more energy efficient. This would also, of course, produce jobs. Charleston, South Carolina capitalized on its historic buildings, creating both a preservation industry and a tourist magnet. Should we incentivize such an industry here and thus increase our population, we would still not need to increase tonnage at the dump. Raised awareness of energy efficiency would yield less waste, not more. Second, we should not accept drill cuttings or waste from the fracking fields of Pennsylvania or anywhere else. This is about, as we've heard a lot, among other things, radiation. Now, I don't understand everything about the radioactive materials and the toxins related to fracking drill cuttings and waste. But it's my responsibility as a Chemung County citizen to learn more. And I have tonight, thanks to so many of our speakers. And it's your responsibility as our legislators, to understand fully the short and long-term effects of these materials. Much of what gets deposited in our dump eventually finds its way into our air and water. I've heard that the radiation detection equipment currently in use has picked up no radioactivity from trucks entering our dump, implying that the trucks contain no radioactive materials. However, I've also heard that the equipment being used cannot detect alpha radiation, which is the most dangerous. We need to screen for all kinds of lethal or disease-producing materials, not just what's easy to measure. At this point, telling citizens of Chemung County that all the materials entering the dump are safe is like telling Little Red Riding Hood that the woods are safe because you've checked for tigers and found none, without telling her that you cannot check for wolves.
From Spencer. I'm a substitute teacher in the Spencer Burnett School District, where a lot of, I'm a substitute teacher in the Spencer Burnett School District, where many Chemung County children go to school. There have been two ads, TV ads recurring lately that led me to do some research on the Chemung River. One ad wants people to enjoy the beautiful river this summer. I found out from the Friends of the Chemung River Watershed website that the river and its trails are used for boating, fishing, hiking, and biking. The wildlife includes at least 20 kinds of birds like bald eagles, hawks, egrets, migrating birds, and water birds. These opportunities to enjoy the river would disappear if it became polluted by the landfill, which is likely. The second recurring TV ad is from the Chemung County Stormwater Coalition, which warns that stormwater runoff collects a lot of potential pollutants. The county website says that stormwater runoff collects and transports potential pollutants. Polluted runoff degrades our lakes, rivers, wetlands, and other waterways. Toxic chemicals from automobiles and careless application of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers threaten the health of the receiving waterway and can kill fish and other aquatic life. It seems disingenuous of the county to be so forceful in its warnings about stormwater runoff, but fail to notify the public about the pollutants that are allowed in the landfill. They warn against the benzene and gasoline in runoff, but don't mention the benzene that comes up with fracking and is probably being brought up from PA and dumped in Lauman. Do we even know what's in the landfill? Is it just drill cuttings, which are bad enough, or also soil contaminated by flowback after chemicals and sand have been injected into the ground? The almost 300 chemicals used in fracking, over 93% with bad health effects, according to scientist Theo Colborn. Who's watching? We should have baseline testing for all waterways in the Chemung watershed and beyond, and the test should include all chemicals known to be used for fracking. I read today that in Texas, there has been a proven link between a natural gas well and an aquifer, proven by the signature chemical composition of the gas. This is the future as laws catch up with fracking and careless, improperly licensed landfills like the Chemung landfill will be stopped. The leachate isn't being treated for what it contains. Please do the right thing and stop it now. I mentioned last month that you would be heroes if you would vote against the expansion. That's an overused word, but I still think that you would get cheers from most of the people in this audience. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mary Thorpe, and I live in the town of Manhattan in Chemung County. And I sent a copy of my letter earlier today to the clerk, which I hope she will send to all of the legislators here today. But I'm not going to read all the facts and figures, which I think you've heard many times, and start halfway through my letter. And I also added some comments which were not in the letter, which I thought about afterwards. I've encountered many supporters of the natural gas industry who are content to defer to our state leaders and the DEC in decisions concerning hydrofracking. Unfortunately, the DEC is understaffed, and our state legislators apparently are not very well informed, as evidenced by a vote taken in the Environmental Conservation Committee a week or so ago on Senator, I don't know how to pronounce her name now, Chatsik's bill to ban fracking waste in New York. The chair of the Environmental Conservation Committee, Mark Brisanti, was quoted as saying, "I'm not sure that this is actually taking place." Who should be more educated on the subject than the chair of the committee charged with oversight of environmental issues? But apparently he was clueless. And that got me thinking about words of Thomas Jefferson. I was trying to remember, so I Googled it and would like to quote Thomas Jefferson. "An enlightened citizenry is indispensable for the proper functioning of a republic. Self-government is not possible unless the citizens are educated sufficiently to enable them to exercise oversight." And further, "I know no safe depository of the ultimate powers of the society but the people themselves. And if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion by education. This is the true corrective of abuses of constitutional power." And unfortunately, in going around my township, I've encountered a large portion of the citizenry that is either too busy or too apathetic, or worse yet, cynical about our governmental processes to get involved. They think, what does it matter what I do? That's not going to make a difference. But I believe that most of the people assembled here tonight have cared enough to take the time to educate ourselves and to pass what we've learned along to you, who've been elected to represent us. We hope that you will show us that our democratic process works. And I just pulled up a few examples on problems with fracking waste handling, none of which I've heard mentioned so far. I went to a meeting about leachate that's coming from the Seneca Meadows landfill that's being trucked to Endicott. At that meeting, the DEC representative was not aware that Seneca Meadows was taking fracking waste in Pennsylvania, even though DEP records that had been obtained showed that that was the destination. And that leachate is not being monitored for radioactivity. And even if it was tested, water testing data related to a wastewater treatment plant that accepts leachate have been linked to a Syracuse laboratory that pled guilty in July 2013 to one felony count of mail fraud in a case said to involve 3,300 falsified water tests. So we're to trust our bureaucracy. Recently, Marcellus shale sludge that was rejected in Washington County, Pennsylvania, for high levels of radioactivity, was sent on to West Virginia for disposal. Do you want Chemung County to be the dumping ground for Pennsylvania's rejected waste? I do not, and I implore you to vote against it. Thank you.
having the Chemung Stormwater Committee that has helped. Also, the Chemung Soil and Water, who has come out and done a lot of work. The only thing that I'm here to ask tonight is to come up with some funding so that there's more help as far as for stopping these flash floods. I know that you're not going to stop the weather, but we might be able to prevent some of it. Last night we had a good rain, and what damaged my house and several others in the property area last August, the berm that was put back up by a company, we don't even know who it was, they just came in and dozed it for us, was pretty much washed out last night. So we're real close to being back in the same thing. The bridges, I think it'd be nice to have a meter that tells you how many feet it is, so that we know how many cubic feet of water it was designed for the 100-year flood. So then we'd know that the residents could say, hey, look, it's up a foot. Maybe next time you get a chance to come out and maintain it. You gotta have some type of preventive maintenance on your roads and on your creeks, or else you're gonna have more flash flooding. You look what just happened in Penn a couple weeks ago. From going through it, and I know people have been here since '72, I wasn't, and I'm sure that was devastating. But FEMA helped. The little people, they didn't help. And it's your funding that'll help buy the riprap, also allow people to do the retention ponds like you did for Southport, and I think it was the town of Elmira. It takes years to get to this point, but we'd like to see it move forward. I also would like to see you go out to your towns and ask them to start a stormwater committee so that we can get together as a group and ask the state for more funding.
Good evening, my name is Frank Patterson. I live in the town of Radon, Chemung County. I speak tonight on behalf of People for Healthy Environment. I'm its president. If you recall, I came here in April and I gave you a letter. I identified how bad RA 226 is in the Joe Counties. I quantified how much Joe Counties were getting, 154,000 tons in 3 years. I requested this body to give me an answer by May 30th, 45 days. What you're going to do to stop accepting drill cuttings into the landfill, remove the drill cuttings received, and prohibit future fracking waste from coming here. You didn't respond. You didn't answer the mail. You didn't do your job. I'm disappointed. Shame on you. Shame on you. Tonight I'm going to give you another letter. I'm going to add some more data to it. I'm not going to read the letter to you, but I'm going to tell you what it's about. I come across the United States Geological Survey report from 2011 that shows wells in Pennsylvania, 33 Marcellus wells. The fracking water, the produced water, had extremely high RA 226 levels, comparable to what I showed you or gave you in April for New York State levels. It also shows 6 other strata above the Marcellus. That's also hot. It's not dirt, that's hot rock. It's pulverized rock. Not as hot as Marcellus, but it's hot. Way above the EPA standards for safe drinking. Way above. Now, today I'm going to give you a letter that says, hey, here's some new data. I want you guys to do your job. I want you to go to your charter, read it for a change, go to your charter, and pass some legislation, some local laws that stop this nonsense. Keep this stuff out of the landfill. Get rid of what you got. Don't let future crud coming in here. This is the best I can do. Do your job. Stop the programs.
My name is Russell Honaker. I drove here from Cooperstown out Seago County a couple hours with my wife. I'm the 18th person to come up here, and every single person before me has given reasons for you to not allow any more waste to come here and to rectify your landfill by getting this radioactive waste out. You've had PhDs, you've had medical doctors. My background is my adult life I spent as a photographer. And I'll tell you, coming from Nashville, Tennessee, they wanted to put radioactive waste in the dump, in the landfill in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and people stopped it. They wanted to build the world's largest nuclear plant on the source of our drinking water, and people stopped it. The elected officials had their plates full, and but people stopped that. And I'm just somebody who's pointed. I looked and I pointed. I got invited to New Mexico, and I saw industrial rock waste in one place, Shiprock, New Mexico, where it is a mountain. And you want to accept another 500,000, so $500,000 here and $500,000 there, and it adds up. They have a mountain of it. And even in the desert where they don't have much rain, they can't keep the water from going through it. It goes into the San Juan River. And everybody that you talk to has been affected by it. And the children are affected by it. So all I'm saying is, I'm not speaking from a medical background, but my sister, her first year of college, was diagnosed with an acute leukemia and given 3 months to live. She's the oldest living survivor of a process that started where I live now in Cooperstown, Tennessee, New York, the bone marrow transplant. She's the oldest living survivor. So there are people that live through terminal illnesses, but it affects everything. And if any of you had a brother or a sister, a mother with a cancer, you would be weighing the money that's promised from this waste to that very real experience. And that's what you are being implored by every single person who's come up here. To say, weigh this. How many more cancers will it take for you to say, okay, I'll stand with every one of you who came here tonight? What would it take? Because on the one hand, you're doing a cost-benefit analysis, and have you taken a stand? Are you with these people, every single one? Are you like, well, yeah, more cancer, but we'll get money. The drain on your economy here is forevermore. With that leachate, everything, water is the biggest conveyor of pollution. More than the air, it's the water. And it cannot be stopped. When you see a berm of it in New Mexico, they cannot stop it, they cannot cap it. Water goes through it, and it contaminates what's underneath. And I've seen in Grants, New Mexico, where they have contaminated groundwater, they try to stop it. They inject water here to keep it from going over here, and it comes up somewhere else. And that's what you're facing. And before it is a mountain of waste here, you can take steps to get it out of here. Everywhere that radioactive waste is coming, people organize to try to stop it. And there's a reason for that, because it adversely affects you. And I just wanted to look into your faces. Is there one person here that's been moved by all this? To say that scale of that misery is not outweighed by the money. You can act.
I would just like to say that my brother had brain cancer, my other brother had prostate cancer, my sister's a breast cancer survivor, my mother died of lung cancer, so I don't need to be lectured by anybody what the causes of cancer are. I know I lived it. Thank you.
Anybody from the front row over this side? Well, they're coming out of turn. Front row.
I feel like I should invite you all to have a seventh inning stretch. So feel free to take a little exercise. Oh, sorry. Do that seventh inning stretch. My name is Maureen Farrell. I reside with Scott Breeze at 983 Upland Drive in Elmira. I'm here tonight as a private citizen to ask the legislature to vote against the proposed expansion of the county landfill and to discontinue the practice of accepting drilling waste from hydrofracking. I know you have heard from chemists, geologists, health professionals, and other experts. So I'm going to address the issue of drilling waste from personal experience. Prior to moving to Elmira in 2011, Scott and I resided in Erin, near the top of Langdon Hill. Our dream home was built in 1995 on a 6-acre lot, approximately a half-mile downslope from the former 300-acre Girl Scout camp in the midst of a pristine wilderness with incredible views. Thus, we were deeply disappointed when the camp owners allowed a natural gas well to be drilled in 2005. Fortunately, from our viewpoint, the well was not productive and was declared temporarily abandoned and soon dismantled. So we were amazed a few months later to see a fully loaded brine tanker truck headed to the abandoned well site, only to return in a few minutes without its toxic load. We immediately reported the incident to the regional DEC office, and their investigator was informed by the truck driver that he was dumping at the abandoned well because the permitted site he was normally supposed to be using happened to be closed that weekend. So we sold our beloved house on the hill. We thought it would be safer and wiser to move to a location with access to a municipal water supply. Now, our actions may seem overly cautious to some, but we did not want to gamble that our well might be polluted with a chemical cocktail at any time unbeknownst to us. We did not want to risk that all of our home's equity could be gone in a second due to someone's deliberate or accidental actions. Sadly, though, we now find that our move was not truly protected, since the Elmira Water Board, which supplies our water on Upland Drive, uses the Chemung River as one of its surface water sources, the very same river that is flowing through Loudon and is far too close to the county landfill and the potential migration of all those toxins being hauled in from Pennsylvania. High volume, hydraulic fracturing, and the toxic waste it generates is the single most important issue you, as our elected representatives in Chemung County, will ever deal with during your tenure in office. I realize that you think you are being good public stewards by keeping our taxes low. However, if you approve the expansion proposal, in reality, you are sealing the fate of this county for many generations to come. No one will care if the taxes are low once the water is undrinkable, the air is unbreathable, and the land is unlivable. Our experience with fracking waste should demonstrate to you that even with all the regulations in place, the appropriate agencies and personnel on duty, and the best procedures carefully delineated, a single individual can easily wreak havoc despite your rules, your regulations, and your safeguards. Yes, you have radioactive tracking of the trucks as they enter the landfill. But do you have a county agent there guaranteeing that each truck from a fracking site is meeting guidelines? Have you given any consideration to the cumulative effect of all those toxic truckloads once they are quadrupled in number? But most importantly, though, have you forgotten that when each of you was elected, you took an oath of office swearing that you would support both the United States and New York State constitutions, and that those documents not only address the need to protect the public you represent, but in the case of New York's Constitution, Article 14, Section 4 specifically states that natural resources shall be conserved and protected, along with adequate provision for the abatement of water and air pollution, and the protection of agricultural lands, wetlands, shorelands, and the development and regulation of water resources. Indeed, Article 14 even stipulates that a violation of any of its provisions may be restrained at the suit of the people. That includes me and every single citizen in Chemung County. Thus, I implore you to reject the proposed massive expansion of the county's landfill, and I request that you would cease accepting any fracking waste of any sort into our county. I ask this on behalf of current county residents, but more importantly, I ask it in the name of future generations. It is within your power to protect their air, their water, their land, and indeed their very lives. You should not take that charge lightly or with regard for anything other than their safety, the safety of our county. For as the Cree people noted many years ago, when all the trees have been cut down, when all the animals have been hunted, when all the waters are polluted, when all the air is unsafe to breathe, only then will you discover that you cannot eat money. Thank you.
Dr. Earl Robinson, Chemung County, 1.5 miles from the landfill. I want to apologize, I missed the last meeting because I had to go to Albany. They asked me to talk at the public forum on health and environmental risks posed by transport and landfilling of drilling waste. This was the New York State Senate Environmental Committee. I'm a pulmonary critical care physician. I've been in Chemung County for 36 years. I'm going to talk not about what's going to happen, but what's been happening in Chemung County for the last 36 years since I've been here. Now, despite my greatest efforts, Chemung County has the highest death rate from lung cancer in New York State. Lung cancer is one of the worst cancers you can possibly have. The overall survival at 5 years for all types of lung cancer is 10%. If you have stage 1 lung cancer, which is the smallest, easiest treated, least liable to kill you type of cancer, stage 1, at 5 years, the overall prognosis is only 40%. Now, why does Chemung County have the highest death rate from lung cancer in New York State? Well, we do have one of the highest smoking rates, and some people look at it as between 25 and 32% of the population smoking. But we also have radon, and we have radon in ambient air. So in this room, and when you walk outside, you're going to be exposed to radon. Radon in ambient air in most places in New York State is 0.3 picocuries per liter. And what's a picocurie? You hear a lot about that. A picocurie is 2 nuclear disintegrations per minute. If you're breathing right now, which I imagine you all are, you're moving 6 liters of air a minute. If you exercise, you can go up to 24 liters of air a minute. If you have radon in the air, that's how many picocuries per liter you're breathing in. So let's say it's 1 picocurie, 24 liters at 24 picocuries per minute, 60 minutes, 24 hours, 365 years, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And what happens with that? Radon 222 decays, producing alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. The 2
most dangerous decay products of radon gas are polonium-218 and polonium-214. That's the material they used to kill the Russian spy in London. The amount of polonium was less than what you could put on your little finger that killed him. Now, if you're a smoker, and again, I mentioned we have a high degree of smokers in Chemung County, and you just breathe ambient air, you've got a 3 in 1,000 chance of developing lung cancer just because you're breathing ambient air with radon in it. But at 2 picocuries per liter, 32 smokers per 1,000 get lung cancer in a lifetime. At 20 picocuries per liter, 1/4 of all these smokers will get lung cancer. 25% of smokers at 20 picocuries will get lung cancer. Now, Chemung County, I mentioned ambient air is 0.3 picocuries. In Chemung County, the average basement has 12.5 picocuries per liter of radon gas. In the first floor of most houses in Chemung County, there are 6 picocuries per liter of radon gas. Exposure to radon is the second most common cause of lung cancer in the United States. It's like 110,000 people die of lung cancer because of radon exposure. Now, what are we doing about that? So for the last 36 years, my partners and I, every week we see 1 or 2 people with lung cancer. We try to get them to stop smoking. I don't see anybody doing anything about radon abatement. Even the real estate people don't necessarily check for that. Back to the story of the radon. There are 4 isotopes of radium, 228, 226, 224, and 223. Now, this is Marcellus waste right here. It's not mud, it's not brown, it's black. It looks like coal. As long as that thing is inside of this plastic container, the alpha radiation will not go through there. Okay? The radon gas cannot escape. The gamma can go right through here and right through that wall. But if you take this and you spread it all over this room, and then we start walking around and blowing and knocking the dust up into the air, you're going to inhale it. If you inhale it, 60% of it's going to be absorbed and go into your body and probably be deposited in your bones. So, that's what I deal with every day. And I do not want to see an increase in the number of people that have lung cancer in this county. And bringing this stuff in by the hundreds of thousands of tons and spreading it is not going to make it any better. I was talking with a doctor out in Colorado who does radon research. And he said out there's a lot of radioactive material, and they do uranium mining. And you can actually take a meter, put it outside the car and drive around. When you get to 20 picocuries per liter of radon, there's probably a uranium mine there. He also mentioned to me that once you get the gas lines up and running, you don't have to wonder what the gas lines are because you can take a Geiger counter and you can put it on the ground and follow the gas lines because the pipes become contaminated with material. So just to bring up the speed on picocuries, radon, lung cancer in Chemung County, and why we should be careful. And there's more things we can do to keep people from having lung cancer, because once you've got it, you're pretty much dead. And we don't need that. And I can't stop that. The way to stop
This cancer is to stop the exposure, stop the cigarette smoking, get rid of the radon. Thank you.
Just had to ask my clerk if she was okay. She's been writing.
Madam Chair, thank you. Legislators, thank you. Thank you for your patience. I see no nodding heads. My name is Dave Radin. I live at 501 South Main Street.